Welcome to my channel. My name is Ria, and in this video we're going to talk about the full moon happening on 5th February 2023, the full moon in Leo. So for the first half of this video, I am going to speak about Western astrology, and then we will get into Vedic astrology really briefly. So let's get started. Now, a full moon in astrology represents a point of contradiction, right? It's when the sun and the moon oppose each other, right? It's a contradiction. It's a 180-degree angle. It's an opposition. The full moon in astrology represents culminations. It represents completions. So essentially, it's this point where something is coming to a close, something is completing itself, something is finishing, right? It's also ending. So something is completing or ending. And emotionally, a full moon is a charged point, right? And that's because the moon, which represents our emotions, which represents our mood, is in opposition with the sun, which represents our soul, right? So it's a highly charged emotional point, highly charged emotional day, a full moon. Now, this moon in Western astrology, tropical, is in the sign of Leo. You can see this, right? It's at 16 degrees of Leo. Now, Leo is the sign of creativity. It's the sign of love. It's the sign of, the heart. It's about going after what you love, following your heart, creating something, right? It's all these things. So generally in our personal lives, we might find these themes come up, right? Maybe this theme of, okay, what do I feel like doing? What do I truly desire? Right? Okay, this is what I really want from the depth of my heart. So a lot about what our deep desires are, personally speaking. Now, on a collective level, on a global level, Leo represents leaders, right? Leo is the royal sign. It's the sign of the king. So it's about the leaders. It's about the royalty. It's about the top in a certain way, right? So maybe these themes of the leaders, of the top, of even the entertainers, right? These themes can be highlighted on a global collective level, something to do with them. Now, usually what happens with the moon is that the aspects that are going on in the chart tend to influence the moon energy. Right, so let's talk about those aspects real quick. Let's talk about them. And this moon is pretty straightforward in the sense that it is making one very strong aspect. The moon here is making a 90-degree angle with Uranus, right? This right here, this is Uranus. Uranus is this planet that signifies change. It's sudden, it's unexpected, it's out of the blue, it's shocking, right? That's Uranus. Uranus is a lot of energy. So one thing that we might want to look out for is sudden events, sudden changes, unexpected events, unexpected changes. And this is a 90-degree angle, a square. Right? And what that means is that we might feel slightly challenged by these changes. We might feel slightly uncomfortable by these changes. But what does a square ask? What does a 90-degree angle ask us to do? It asks us to overcome that challenge. It says, hey, you have to be stronger than this. You have to evolve. You have to grow. You have to adapt. You have to change in order to deal with this, right? So maybe a change, a sudden change, an unexpected change that asks us to, be a little uncomfortable so that we can grow. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect with Uranus and this moon is that Uranus is also the planet that brings these ideas, right? It brings these epiphanies, these insights, these realizations. It's the planet of awakening as well. So with an aspect to the moon, this full moon can also be a moon where we realize things, where we get new ideas, where something becomes clear to us, right? Where we get an epiphany of sorts, like, okay, now I get it. This is it. This is what it is. So that's another thing. Insights, epiphanies, realizations, ideas can all come about on this moon. Now, one thing to watch out for is the fact that Uranus is a lot of energy, right? It's got this sudden nature to it. It's shocking in some ways. And Uranus rules electricity. It's a lot of energy, right? And what that can lead to when it's contacting the moon, our emotions, is a lot of nervous energy. It can lead to a lot of anxious energy. It can even lead to, moments where we're fine, everything's fine. And then suddenly there's an emotional, oh, I don't feel so good, I'm getting anxious, that sort of thing, right? So that's something to watch out for. This Uranian energy is keeping our emotions in check, right? Realizing that there might be instances, or the energy is such that we might feel slightly anxious, nervous, frazzled, a little, restless, a little bit of, too much going on. That can also happen. So that's the most important aspect this moon is making. The second important aspect this moon is making is a trine to Chiron, right? 120-degree angle with Chiron. This is Chiron, and Chiron in astrology represents self-healing. It's also the planet of our wounds. So what this means in a positive aspect with the moon is that there's a healing element to this moon, right? Although this is a positive aspect with Chiron, that healing always comes from within. So that's something to watch out for as well. So a healing element to this moon, not too stressful in the healing process, right? Now that's pretty much it regarding this moon. A very sudden energy is associated with this moon, and that's what we must watch out for. Now I'll talk about a few more things going on in the chart at this point, and then we'll tie it all together. The next thing I want to speak about is that Mars is direct, right? We had a new moon on 21st January and Mars was direct back then as well. And this is relevant because from October 30th or so till about 12th Jan, Mars was retrograde, right? Which means things were slow. But now it's direct. Now is the time to move forward. Now is the time to take action. And we've been in this energy of moving forward, taking action since the new moon in Aquarius on 21st January. So I just wanted to touch upon that. But here I do want to say that Mars is still going over the degrees it retrograded over, and it will do so till March, right? And what that means is that whatever we reviewed over the past few months since October, whatever reviews we made, whatever changes we thought about till March, we will be now moving forward with that review, moving forward with those changes. For example, if you did a lot of review regarding your businesses, right? You thought, okay, this is not working, this is a better way, this is how it goes. Now is the time where you'll maybe start to implement those changes till March. So that's Mars. And another thing, speaking about planets being direct, is that all planets are direct right now, right? Let's list them one by one. Let's see them actually. Mercury direct, Pluto direct, Sun never retrograde, Saturn direct, Venus, Neptune, Jupiter, Chiron, Uranus, Mars, everything is direct. When planets are direct, it's time to move forward, it's time to decide, it's time to take action, it's time to do all these things. So that's also something to keep in mind. A lot of energy to go get what you want, go after what you want, and move forward. And that's pretty much it. One thing I do want to mention is that Jupiter is in Aries. It has been since December of 2022. Jupiter in Aries is all about new beginnings, new starts, that sort of thing. So that's the moon's energy in a nutshell. Now in a moment we will talk about Vedic astrology, but before that I do want to mention that I made a video on the astrology of 2023, right? It gives you the highlights of 2023. It's this video here. If you're interested, you can watch that. I'll put the link in the description box below. So now let's talk about this moon and Vedic astrology, right? So Vedic astrology follows the sidereal system, and the difference is that Vedic astrology energies are a little bit behind, right? Between 23 and 24 degrees behind. So this moon in Western is in Leo, but in Vedic it falls in Cancer, right? But in Vedic, what I find with my experience is that more than the sign, what really influences the energy is the nakshatra, right? Nakshatras are also known as lunar mansions. Now these are smaller divisions of a sign, right? And they tend to influence the energy more prominently than the sign, in my opinion, right? So that's why I like to get into the nakshatras. Now let's talk about what nakshatra this moon is falling in. Now again, with Vedic astrology, there are two systems of calculating the nakshatra. Right, one is an equal system and one is an unequal system. In the equal system, each nakshatra, each lunar mansion is of equal size. Right, in the unequal, each lunar mansion is of unequal size. Right, so I will give you where it lies in both equal system and unequal system, and then we will get into where this moon might be in Vedic, right, which nakshatra. So if we go with the equal nakshatra system, this moon falls in Ashlesha nakshatra. The unequal nakshatra system, it falls in the nakshatra of Magha, right? And for this one, usually I prefer the unequal system, but for this one, I feel it should go with the equal system, and that's because the nakshatras are based on fixed stars. And the prominent fixed star of Ashlesha is closer to this moon than the prominent fixed star of Magha. Right, so that's why for this one I would go with the equal system of the moon being in Ashlesha nakshatra. Ashlesha nakshatra is a Mercury ruled nakshatra, right? It's the 9th nakshatra. Now in Vedic there are 27 nakshatras and it's 999. So when you're at the 9th nakshatra, it's the closing of a cycle. So in some ways you can say this is about closing of a cycle to prep the soul for the next stage of growth, right? But Ashlesha is represented by the snake, the serpents, the nagas, right? So in a way it's about clinging. It's this energy that is about holding on to things and not being able to let go. And for me that means we have to work on letting things go, things that are not serving us a little bit, right? And it's also very emotional nakshatra. So maybe a lot of emotional upheavals can take place with this nakshatra, which is very similar to Uranus contacting the moon, right? It can cause this emotional uneasiness. So in Vedic, that theme of looking out for our emotions, keeping them a little stable is important as well. And in Vedic, what also becomes important is this ability to let go, right? And one can draw parallels with Leo as well in that, because Leo is about following our heart, right? It's about going after what we love. And sometimes what we cling to is not what we love, but what we are habituated to, what we find comfortable. So maybe, in order to pursue or go after what we love or fully fulfill our desires and fulfill our happiness, we might need to let go of something that we are used to, we cling on to, we are habituated to, but that's not serving us anymore, right? So that's what I would say with the Ashlesha nakshatra. Since this nakshatra is very representative of serpents and snakes and nagas and poisons, it is also very closely associated with the Kundalini energy. So something about that as well. Kundalini is also similar to awakening, right? What is Kundalini? In my book, it's when you're awakening, right? When your Kundalini is rising, you're awakening more and more. And what is Uranus? Uranus is the awakener. So a lot about awakening as well. So similar in that sense, and that's what I wanted to touch upon real quick in this video. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Do subscribe to this channel if you think the video was useful, and now I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye.